In lesson one, we talked about how to approach a broad topic like technology, how to narrow it down to something personal. And we built a set of high value words and phrases that you can use for almost any topic, not just technology. Now, I want to show you those words and phrases in action. This is going to be a longish video because you're going to hear three model answers, two at band 7 level and one at band 8. After each model answer, there will be a discussion on it. You don't have to watch all of it at once. Okay, but these three model will answer the same question. How has technology impacted your life? So that you can see the different ways of answering this question and it may apply to your life. After each answer, I will point out which lesson 1 vocabulary I used, and then I'll focus on how the answer was developed, structured, and delivered, so you can do the same. Turn on the English captions because this is where you see the lesson being shown. All right, let's get into it. Answer 1, Band 7. A type of technology that has changed my life in a positive way is the online fitness app. I started using them during the pandemic when gyms were closed, and I've kept the habit ever since. The app I use most has guided workout videos and a progress tracker. At first, I was a bit dependent on it. I wouldn't know what exercises to do without checking my phone. But over time, it helped me build a new skill set, especially in understanding how to structure a workout and track my fitness data. The best part is that I can work out anywhere, at home, in the park, or even when I'm traveling. That said, I noticed some drawbacks. I sometimes lose track of time browsing through exercise routines instead of actually doing it, actually starting my workout. Also, I've become glued to the screen for things I used to do without technology, which can feel a bit strange. It's a double edged sword. It motivates me, but it also makes me more reliant on my phone. But overall, I feel that this technology has made me healthier and more disciplined. Even if I'm slightly too reliant on it, benefits outweigh the downsides, and I plan to keep using it. So, in lesson one, we talked about these words, and it is being used here. So, these are habit, dependent, skill set, data. That said, lose track of time, glued to the screen, double edged sword, and reliant. You can go back over lesson one and revise these words. So, another tip now is notice how I started. I started with the background, but very quickly narrow down to one thing I'm familiar with, something that I can talk about. So that's what you should do too. It's a broad topic, but you don't need to talk about everything, just one thing. So quickly narrow it down to something that you know very well. Then, after that, you can share about it confidently. For example, like here, I shared my own details. And finally, I weigh the good and the bad, which is the double edged sword. The good and the bad balance does work very well for any topic because you can talk about there's always good and bad, isn't there? One more new learning point from this. Revise and look at the closing word, which was overall. Overall. It works like in summary or in conclusion, but it sounds more conversational, more natural. Another is and so, then pause. Overall, then pause. So you make it feel like you are summarizing. For example, and so I feel that something something. Try that next time for a smoother wrap up. This now is the model answer 2. So it's also about something very common, something that you and I always use without even knowing it. And it's based on technology again. So this is online shopping. Here's an answer. One technology that has really affected my life is online grocery shopping. I started using it about 2 years ago, and now I rely on it almost every week. At first, I used it for convenience, but over time I've become a bit dependent on it. It saves me a lot of time because I don't have to travel to the supermarket or wait in long queues. I can simply swipe through the app, add the items to my cart, and just pay online. The app even keeps my shopping data so I can quickly reorder things that I commonly order, that I buy regularly. However, there are some downsides. Sometimes I feel glued to the screen for too long, looking here, looking there, comparing prices, reading the product reviews. It's a habit. It can be frustrating, especially when I realize I have lost track of time. And also, if the internet connection is poor, I feel anxious because I can't complete my order. In my opinion, this technology has a double edged sword. It is very efficient, helps me to manage my time better, but it also makes me more reliant, more dependent on my phone. Still, I think the convenience outweighs the disadvantages, and I do plan to continue using it. So that was model answer number 2, talking about another technology, another app, another aspect of it. So you can uh, you would have seen that we used the similar words that can be used anywhere else, like rely, dependent, swipe again, swipe, data, glued to the screen, habit, lost track of time, anxious, and the double-edged sword, and reliant. About this answer, here we use problems to discuss internet issues like over comparing prices, which glues you to the screen for longer than you should. And here is when you lose track of time. So that adds a bit of reality, something real, something that you can express. So it's part of this question and answer with IELTS is to make your examiner believe you, make your story believable. It's real, it's not made up, it's something that you do every day. So it's very personable, conversational. Okay, we focus again on the wrap up, the closure. So in answer number 1, we use the word overall. Here we just use a simple in my opinion. So you've talked about everything and then you want to put it together. So you say it at the end, well, in my opinion, and then you go on to finish it. Some other phrases can be, from my point of view, or personally, I think this about technology. From my experience, this, and this. And you can slightly repeat what you've said in the passage. So that's how you wrap up. Another way you can wrap up. Now we go on to the third and last answer here. So this is a little bit higher level, maybe band 8. And it's about something very common as well. Your smartphone, and maybe add in AI apps. So make two items in this answer so that it's fuller. And yes, here's the model answer. One piece of technology that has had a big impact on my life is my smartphone. I know that might sound obvious, but I rely on it every single day for everything, from messaging my friends to organizing my work schedule. I first started using a smartphone when I was in high school, but over the years, my reliance on it has grown. Now it's not just a phone, it's my calendar, it's my camera, it's my music player, and my main source of news. That's where I read most of my news. And now I've even started using AI based apps, which are an example of, artificial intelligence, to help me learn English. That's right. I use my smartphone to practice my English, to improve my writing, to learn new words. So these tools have definitely expanded my skill set and made my learning more efficient. I can use it anywhere, on the train, when I'm waiting for something, when I'm queuing for something. However, I have to admit that I'm a little too dependent on it. And sometimes I catch myself glued to the screen for hours, scrolling through the social media, losing track of time. When my internet connection drops, I feel a bit anxious, which shows just how much I've come to depend on it. Overall, I think technology is a double edged sword. So, on the one hand, it helps me stay connected with friends and family, organized, and productive. But on the other hand, it can be distracting, and sometimes I wish I could put it down more easily. Still, I can't imagine my daily life without it. It's become an essential part of who I am and how I interact with the world. So take note of the words that we used again, and you can revise them in lesson 1 and understand it better. Another tip from this answer: notice how I use a lot of I phrases. So, I know, I first heard about this, I feel, I think, I imagine, I admit, I admit that I use it too much. I imagine that it's good for my health. I feel very comfortable with technology. Mm. Yeah, keep focusing on personal, make it real to you, and the examiner will believe you better. So it's a believable story. And it also gives you a mini pause. So you can say, I imagine something, or just imagine. I imagine myself in an island without my smartphone. I can't imagine that. I'm too dependent on it now. And the last tip: body language. How do you finish? How do you show you finish? You can slow your tone slightly, lower your voice, and then give a small smile and a nod at the end. So it signals confidence and closure to the examiner. And then you can stop. So, for example, still, I can't imagine my daily life without my smartphone. It's become an essential part of who I am and how I interact with the world. From the last answer, Still, I think that the convenience, the benefits outweighs the disadvantages, and I plan to keep using it. So slow down, make your tone lower and not at the end, and then look at the examiner and stop. That gives the examiner the signal that you have finished. Let's wrap up. So you have just heard three answers using the same strategy from lesson one. Pick one clear example, an example that is personal, that you're familiar with. And if you have prepared for the exam, or even specific topics, so you'll have words for a specific topic and also words that you can use across topics and weave in the strong vocabulary. So it's your turn today. Pick one sentence structure, like that said, not just, or on the one hand, on the other hand, and practice it with your own example. On the one hand, I rely on my phone. On the other hand, I feel I'm too reliant. So you're still using the one idea. That is how you express yourself and emphasize on this point. And here is another tip. If you've seen my series Presidential English, you'll notice that this is exactly the method that world leaders use. On the other hand, you know, on the one hand, on the other hand, they usually like to compare things. It is part of what makes your speech sound sharp, powerful, and memorable. Try your example with a technology topic and then with something completely different. Use the same words in a different topic. The more you practice, the more it will sound natural in the real test.